Hello friends, today we'll be talking about a very important concept or the trend which is going on is about the work culture. Now work culture has different names: workplace culture, organization culture, company culture. We would be referring all these terms as work culture. Now the companies have to impress their employees, okay, by having a good retention rate, by having a very high employee productivity, satisfaction levels, and all of this will only come to an employer or a company when they have a very strong work culture in place. Now, when I talk about work culture is basically defined as the rules and regulations, practices, policies, rituals, values, beliefs, all of that when put together in a company's working profile, it is known as a work culture. Now, the businesses in India have a very different work culture as across the globe. Now, in India, the work culture is highly influenced by the belief, the values, the religion, all of this, where it basically comes from. Also, the region where the company is being started. So, it is very important to have a very strong work culture. Now, if you have a bad or a poor work culture, it automatically reflects. It reflects on the way people or your employees behave. The absenteeism, the productivity level, the stress level, the poor health, all these things are a byproduct of a poor work culture in an organization. So therefore, every organization has to work immensely hard in order to achieve a good culture, not only which is beneficial to the company, but also to the employees working in an organization. And they also have to understand that if they invest towards the people of the company, they will get the best out of them. But like it is not a one-way relationship. Work culture is a two-way relationship which both the employee and the employer have to participate in. Now, when I talk about a two-way relationship, I mean to say it is a clap which can only be done when two hands come together. So you can only clap when you have two hands coming together and wanting to clap. So work culture will only become a strong culture, a strong way, only when both employees and employer decide that how they want to actively participate and get the best out of it. Now, there are two aspects of work culture. One is a culture creation and the second one is a culture maintenance. Now, the culture creation is a part of the employer or the one who starts the company. Now, it is based on two important concepts: the founder's values and prepositions, okay, and the industry demands. When both of these things are clubbed together, what we basically get is an early value of the company policies, rules, regulations, goals, and objectives. Now, these things need to be passed on to the employees, which is actually the culture maintenance, which is a part of the employee point of view. Now, over here, the company or the organization culture will turn out to be good or bad when four important parts are looked into the picture. Now, if all these four parts have a positive effect, automatically it will reflect a positive work culture in an organization. Now, the first one is obviously the retention rate. How much an employee is sticking to that company, A. Second, how attractive is that company for the people outside to wanting to be a part as an employee. The second thing is if the new employee is onboarding, how happy, how active, how good he feels or positive he feels when he or she joins the company. The third one is a leadership. It is basically the role of the senior management. How well they manage each of their employees, how well they manage the work, the policies, the health, everything positively. And finally, the reward system in today's world. It is very, very important. If you have a good reward system in place, the retention rate, the absenteeism, everything will be positive. Now let's understand this work culture initially from employee point of view, and then later on from the employer point of view. Now, when I'm talking about the employee point of view, I basically mean only one thing. I'm talking about both employees who are working inside the organization and the sales team who work outside the organization on fields. Each one of them have to be very strong in how they maintain or how they take this work culture as. Each one of them has a very active participation, irrespective they are working in the company or they're working from outside the company, because each one of them have a very important role to play. If the sales team do not give them the results, the back-end team will not be able to maintain them. If the sales team is not doing sales, obviously the back-end team will not be able to generate or get best out of those sales which are being given. So it is very important. Now over here, I'm focusing more on the sales teams because they are the ones who are actually outside the organization. They are the ones who are representing the organization and the culture of the organization in real terms on daily basis to the world outside. The people working inside the organization obviously have to maintain decorum, and they do themselves maintain a decorum because of any reasons, strictness, or maybe the fear, or could be because of their own values. It can be any reason, but the people working in the company, they do maintain the organization culture. They try to maintain the best they can. But very important is for those people who represent the company outside. Now, few things from the employee perspective, how the work culture needs to be maintained is first, when you move outside the organization for your sales or for your meeting or for anything, make sure you do your research well. Now, here I'm not talking about a demand and sales and demand and supply research. I'm talking about research in terms of which employee are you going to meet, which organization's employee are you meeting. Is it a personal employee are you meeting? Is it a person who's an individual who you're meeting? You have to do some background study. You need to know about their industry very well. More importantly, you need to know about your industry and your company very well. You cannot go outside into the company without knowing what your company's objectives and mission and visions are. You need to know what your goals have to be. I'm not talking about monthly targets. I'm talking about the major or the bigger picture, which is the objective of the company or the team that you're working for. Okay. The second one is you have to be proactive. Now, when I talk about being proactive, which means you take up some steps by yourself. You don't wait for your senior to instruct you to do a particular thing. You've been into this industry for a couple of years, so you exactly know what you have to do and what you don't have to do. You exactly know if this is a situation, what you have to take care of and what you don't have to take care of. You should be proactive immediately. You should know, you should set your own targets. You need to set your own objectives on a daily or a monthly basis. You need not wait for your senior to give you a target. Be realistic. The senior may give you a very high target sometimes. You as an individual need to evaluate very nicely and try reaching those targets. If a senior has underestimated your caliber, please redefine your targets for your own self, and that can only be done when you're proactive in your life. You need to stay transparent. Very, very important. Irrespective the person is working in the company or representing as a sales team outside the company. You have to be transparent. You're not to work, you're not there for work. You need to be very clear the reason why you're not there. You've done a mistake, admit you've done a mistake. If you're having a fun time with your colleagues during the office hour, please make sure if you're caught or if your senior happens to call you at that time, you're true to your senior. I always say, if they are the only one, it is very, very important to do that. Now, if suppose tomorrow you get a message from a client of yours and if a mistake and accept that yes, I have done it. You accept. That is very important, to accept things. Okay, you might get a scolding for a few minutes. You might be ashamed at that point of time, but at least you will be true that yes, you have committed something which is not correct, and you have to be humans, okay, where you don't repeat your mistakes, and that proves that you have understood your mistake, and when you don't repeat it, proves your maturity level also. The next one is do not wear weekend attire. When I say arrive early, I basically means if it's an 8 o'clock meeting, please make sure you are there at maybe around 7:55. You have to know the ambience where the meeting is going to take place. You need to get familiar with the surrounding where the meeting is going to take place. You need to understand whom you're meeting beyond the work hours. Be flexible. You cannot crib all the time, I will not wait. That is not the way. Sometimes you need to work on a holiday or a weekend. It is important. It is an urgency because it is the need of the hour. Please be flexible. Not always. I'm not saying to compromise on your personal life or your health life, but very important is sometimes you need to be flexible in today's world. Something which is very important, irrespective, it is a culture, not a culture, whatever, you need to always have a smile on your face. You're working, you are interacting, you're talking, you're doing anything. Please have a smile. That smile is something that's the only curve, like we say, that can mend all the things straight. So that smile is very important. However bad things may be around you, but a small smile can mend a lot of things at that time. Okay. The next one is don't be cold, distant, rude or unfriendly with anybody, be it your colleague, be it your ex-colleague, be it maybe your client. Please don't be rude to them, don't be unfriendly with them, and don't even be cold to them. Cold to them in a sense, they're talking and you just don't bother about it. That is known as a cold reaction. You're not giving them anything, you're just with a straight face. That straight face is really bad, it gives a very bad impression about you. The next one is don't break any kind of laws, rules and regulations. Now when I talk about don't break any kind of rules, laws and regulations, I basically mean to interpret that whatever the company rules are, you have to report at a particular time, you have to report. You have to send a daily MIS, you have to send a daily MIS. Do not break all these things. These are given not to check your genuineness or to catch where you are at fault, but it is a rule which is made for some reason. Respect that. Like we used to respect some rules in our schools, in our colleges. Respect these rules also. They are important in every organization. Now, obviously, very important is don't forget to set expectations ahead of time. Please don't do that. I should get X amount of incentive, next year. I should get an appraisal, this amount, this percentage. You perform, you will get an appraisal. Don't worry about it. If you don't, then you need to question. Don't set your own expectations way beyond time. It's said in Hindi ki utna hi pair phailao jitni chaddar ho. If you have not performed, don't expect to get results. Don't expect to get appraisals or incentives. But if you have, believe me, you will get the best then. Nobody is going to make any kind of defaults in that. Okay. Next is don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions about anybody. 5 years into the company or 5 months into the company or just 5 days in the company. Don't make assumptions about anybody, about anything. Everybody has a different perspective about everything that the person views at. You might view at me as an X kind of a female. I might view at you as a different kind of a female. So it is very, very important as how you are taking it. Don't work on somebody else's assumptions or perceptions. Make your own ways of thinking by giving it time. Okay. Somebody has given me a cold reaction today, must be something cooking. Don't make those assumptions. That's known as dirty politics in an organization. Don't do that. It's not important. It is not required. You will simply hamper the culture of the organization. Okay. Don't avoid to take responsibilities. Like I said, please make sure if you've committed a mistake, do it. Accept it. Yes, it was my fault. And very important, accept it. The most important thing which I feel every organization faces an issue from an employee point of view is they either discuss personal conversations over the desk or they bring personal emotions in the office. Now, when I talk about personal conversations, they will talk about their in-laws, they will talk about their friends, about their partners, about everybody except work when they're. You get that break time, talk in that break time about everything you want to talk about your personal life. Before office hours, after office hours, please do that conversation. Not during the office hours. You can sit idle, that is okay, but don't gossip or don't talk about your personal things. And also, don't get your personal emotions. I had a very sobbish weekend, so my Monday is also sobbish. Don't do that, okay? I had a fight with my partner, and so I'm very dull today, or I will be fighting with everybody in the organization. Don't do that. It is really wrong to get your emotions also into your organ. Start segregating your personal life and your professional life. The minute you start doing that, believe me, you will be able to achieve all that you want in your life. Very important basic rule to work in a corporate culture today. The last one is, do not gossip about any co-worker, especially your boss. I always say, koi kisi ka nahi hota hai. So do not gossip. Today somebody is gossiping with you. Tomorrow you might just unintentionally do harm to that person. That all that gossip will shift to somebody else. From your saying that it was from your mouth. So don't gossip about anyone. It is actually a wrong thing to gossip about. You want to gossip, go back home and gossip about your own family, your own relatives, your friends, but not in the organization. Don't spoil the culture. Do we gossip about your own siblings to your parents? No, we don't. Do we gossip about our parents to our siblings? No, we don't. Because that is the culture of the family. Similarly, the organization culture also says that do not gossip about someone. That is really unethical. Now, few ethical practices which also an employee has to maintain is, you need to, because you're not gossiping, you need to respect your co-worker, very important. You need to watch out for a slippery slope. Now, slippery slope means where you can go wrong, which part you can take an advantage of and which part you can really go wrong, okay? You need to be very careful in an organization, in a corporate today. You need to also pay attention to whom are you addressing. What are you addressing is not important. To whom are you addressing is very important these days, because the same message can mean different things to different people working in the organization. So very important, if you're writing an email also, whom are you addressing what is very important to mention, If you're talking, whom are you mentioning about? Very important to name that person. Don't talk in sign languages or code languages which will have interpretations of any level at different person's life. Also, please insist on professionalism to your own self, that I will behave like a professional. I will not behave like an immature college going student or an undergrad student or maybe a postgrad student who's just here to get the best, or who's here to get the best placement. That's not our criteria. Our criteria we already placed. We need to perform best here so that we can grow in our life now. Okay. Very, very important, which every person needs to inbuilt in themselves, irrespective you're working or you're not working today or tomorrow, is do it now moment. Okay, do it now. It said kal kare so aaj kare so ab. Okay, which means if you can, don't push things for tomorrow, for the next moment. Do it now. It is very important to do everything now, and try to do something or the other as a habit. Nothing to start reading. Don't sit idle or vacant in your office hours. It's really waste. Nothing. Go online and read something about your own organization or about the field that you're working in. It will just give you something better. Okay. Now, the next part is when you talk about work culture from the employer perspective. Like I said, it's a clap, okay? One side is employees and the other side has to be employer. So an employee has to do a lot of things. The employer has minimum things to do, but they have to make sure they are there, always there at that point of time. The first one is, make sure as an employer you give opportunity of growth to your employees. When they see that there is going to be growth in an organization, the retention will be far more than not. Okay, if they feel that yes, tomorrow I can be much more in this organization, I have a huge career to pursue in this organization, they will stick to your organization. Okay, next is, do not offer something or do not offer a compensation plan which is below the market standards. If there is a decent market standard or an industry standard set, make sure you set or you give a similar compensation plan or a little better. Because the minute I get to know that the compensation I receive is lesser than what a competitor company is giving, I will want to plan a switch over, because end of the day, everybody works for money, because that is how we will survive. So please make sure you give them a good compensation. When you're building a team as an employer, have diversity in your team. Don't have a similar like-minded people, similar religion people, or maybe just some same gender people working together. Have a mixed blend of everything. you will automatically see how the employees have a very positive outlook there. Okay, the competition will become healthier. Okay, the understanding will become much better. So make sure you have diversity when you're creating a team. Be open and honest to the feedbacks that you receive. Please be open. Do not have grudges against someone if somebody is saying anything about a feedback. Okay, if somebody is giving you feedback, please take it constructively, take it positively. And last, which an employer needs to do, is have a social calendar. When I mean about a social calendar, make sure you take outings for your employee. You give them some breaks. You take them for dinners. You take them for some kind of excursions. You give them some kind of a social happening element which will give them a stress-free life also for a defined period of time, which is very important in today's world. So now if I have to sum up the entire, or I have to conclude the work culture concept, I will just say work culture is very important for a growth of a company, because what happens is, in turn, it will depend how the growth of a country happens altogether, how many opportunities you are creating in a country. Now, there may exist some kind of differences, gaps across different companies working in different organizations. And even when you come or enter into an organization, into a country, you as an organization might find something different, because obviously every culture is different. Try adapting to those cultures. Try bending yourselves to those cultures. Don't be a stiff tree which is not ready to bend with the breeze. You will have to break them, okay? And I will say, company culture is basically a product of the company's values, the expectations, and the environment. A perfect blend of these three things is important when you make a company culture. And as it is rightly said, work culture is simply a shared way of doing something with a passion. If you have a passion for it, you will pass on that passion to the other set of people also. Okay, that's all for today. Let me answer all the queries. Now, they wanted a short description on work culture. Like I said, work culture is a product or a byproduct, a perfect blend of companies' values, expectations, and environment around them. It is about the rules, the regulations, the policies, the practices that you set in an organization, which an employer or a founder has set based on the values, perceptions, and the industry demand. Now, what are the various ethical things that you need to follow? I've already listed the various ethical things that every employee needs to follow when they are working in an organization.